Hey everybody, it's Bandor, and I'm back again with another video. Now, today we're going to be responding to requests from people who've watched my videos who don't use Photoshop. They use GIMP. And so several things that I've taught, I explain how to do it in Photoshop. And people ask me, hey, how do you do that in GIMP? And GIMP, for those who don't know, it's a open source free image editing software. So if you don't want to spend the money on Photoshop, it's an alternative that you can do for free. Like I use Blender, which is a free 3D modeling software. GIMP is kind of the photo and image editing alternative to Photoshop that's like Blender is to Maya and stuff like that. So I don't use GIMP. I don't know GIMP. That's my answer all the time. I'm sorry, I don't know GIMP. I don't use GIMP. I don't have any idea how to do this, but I'm sure you can figure it out. You're on your own. Well, I had somebody ask me again today, and I said, okay, I'm going to go bite the bullet. I'm going to download GIMP. I'm going to install it. I'm going to figure out how to do some of this stuff, and so I can explain it to people. And so I did, and I figured out how to do it. So logical conclusion is, hey, I'm going to do a video and teach you how to do some of these things. So the first one we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to make an ORM map, which is an occlusion roughness metallic map that's used to make a PBR material. It embeds your ambient occlusion map in with a roughness and a metallic map, which are all grayscale images, into a single color image, an RGB image. And so that's what we're going to do. We've done it before with Photoshop. Today we're going to do it with GIMP. So let's jump right in and get started. So I did download GIMP today. I don't know what version it is. It's whatever version, 3.2 I think it is, if I remember correctly. I downloaded it today, which is April 3rd, 2025, and we have it here. So the first thing you're going to do is you need to have an ambient occlusion file that you get with the 3D model. Or if you're building your own 3D models and you don't use something that generates the ORM for you and you want to create this ORM, of course, you can use things like GLTF Packer, which will create it for you. But we're going to use GIMP today and show you how you can actually do this. So we're going to open up a ambient occlusion map, which is this one right up here. There we go. That's an ambient occlusion map. Oops, sorry. Let me get out of this and go full screen. So, hey, there we are. We're in GIMP now. Welcome to GIMP land. All right, we're going to go in. We're going to open a image. Here we go. This is an AO that I have in here from a previous project. This is for a Surge chair that I've been working on. I did a couple videos on it. I showed you that. So let's take this AO. We're going to open it. All right, so it comes in here. It's a black and white image, but it should be in RGB mode. So make sure you go to image mode and select RGB if it's not, because it could have been grayscale. But it already was. All right, so then what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to work on the channels. So if you look, there's a channels tab right here, but I can't work in here. And in Photoshop, that's what you do. You just go to the channels tab and then you just manipulate your stuff here. But apparently in GIMP, you can't do that. So go back to our layers. This is layers, this is channels. So we're in layers and you can see this is our image here. What you have to do is you have to decompose this 3-color image, red, green, blue, and it will put it into 3 different layers. It'll create a layer for red, a layer for green, a layer for blue. Then you edit the image, and then you put it back together with a thing called compose. And so the first thing you have to decompose it. So you got to go up to colors, which is here on the menu. Go to colors on the main menu. Go down to components, and then within components you'll find decompose. So go ahead and select that. It's going to pull up this pop-up. And you just make sure your color model is RGB and says, check this box that says decompose to layers. And then you don't want foreground as a registration color. It doesn't matter. So just hit OK. So this is the default settings and I didn't change anything. So, but if you have changed them, you want to make sure it's RGB up here and decompose to layers and then hit OK. And there you go. Now it's actually put the 3 different layers in here. So the original image is gone. But I noticed one thing that's cool. It actually created a new image. So this is the original image up here in this little tab on the left. The one we're working on is here. Photoshop doesn't do that. So that's kind of a cool thing. It took me a while to realize that. All right, so here we have the three layers, red, green, and blue. So the red is your ambient occlusion layer. We're not going to change that. That's this image, and we want to have that as a grayscale image. But then green is actually going to be our roughness channel, our roughness layer. So whatever grayscale image we have in here is what's going to define the roughness of our PBR material. Now remember, this is roughness. But what is roughness? Roughness is an indication of how rough the surface of the model is. And if you think of it like this, a rough surface doesn't reflect well. But a highly polished surface that has no roughness is going to reflect light really, really well. Think about a mirror. When you have a mirror, that is a surface that has been really polished, right? Or if you take a chunk of metal and you start with raw iron or raw steel, right? It's really rough and it's got a dull surface. But as you polish it and you get rid of the roughness, it becomes increasingly reflective. And so it's called roughness, but it's the opposite or the inverse of reflectiveness. So if you want a really rough surface that doesn't reflect at all, you want to have a high value for roughness. And in the way this is done, high, or the maximum value, is pure white. Black is the absence of roughness, or maximum reflectiveness. And so on this image that we see right here, the areas that are out here in black would be highly reflective. But because we're generating this with the AO, these areas in black are off the model. So the only parts of the model are these areas that have data in it or have actual imagery in it. The gray and the white. That's the things that are actually going to be physically on the model, the chair. Because of the way the UV maps were generated for the chair, the black area is not on the model. So you have to look at this and go, okay, what part of this do I want to be shiny or reflective, highly reflective? What parts of it do I want to be matte or not reflective? And so you have to think, okay, do I really want it to be, this is going to say we're going to make a leather version of a chair. Do I want parts of the leather to be shiny and parts of the leather to not be shiny? Or do I want all of the chair to have the same amount of shininess? And for me, for doing something like this, where I'm putting an upholstery on a chair, and it's a uniform upholstery, right? It doesn't make sense to have parts of it that are more reflective or less reflective than the rest. So I want it to be uniform, which means I use a uniform color for the whole thing. And so let's talk about this. What do I want to achieve? Let's start with something like a cloth. We're going to put a cloth surface on this chair. And I don't want this cloth to be reflective at all. I want it to be very matte because it's like cotton or it's something that doesn't have any kind of shine to it. So because I don't want it to have any shine at all, I want to have it with maximum amount of roughness. And so maximum amount of roughness is white. And since I want every pixel to have the same shininess, I want to put white everywhere. And so basically all I'm going to do is fill this entire image with white. I don't care about the black areas. They don't matter. I can ignore them. So I'm just going to fill the whole thing with white. So to do that, we come up here and go to Edit, and we pick Fill with Background Color, which happens to be white right now. And there you go. You don't see it in the image here, but you see it over here on the side. The green is now filled with white. So remember, that's the roughness. So that means the entire image is going to be matte. Now let's talk about the blue channel. Blue channel is your metallic. And metallic defines the metallic sheen, which is kind of like shininess, but it's not the same as reflectiveness. It's more of a metallic sheen. And if you want to think about this, I talked about this in my other video. Look at a sheet of aluminum foil. Have you ever looked closely at aluminum foil? You'll notice that one side is really reflective and shiny. The other side is dull. So the dull side is what we would call metallic. The other side is both metallic and reflective. And so it's going to have a reflection to it. Now, it doesn't have a lot of reflection because it's not like a mirror. You can't look at yourself in a piece of aluminum foil and see very clearly, right? So it's got reflection, but it's not pure reflection. So it wouldn't be white. It would be a gray. And then anyway, but that helps you think about it. So one side of the aluminum has, metallic turned on. The other side has both metallic and reflectiveness turned on. So for this, we don't want any metallic and we don't want any reflection. So no reflection is maximum roughness. No reflection or no shininess is minimum metallic. And so these two are going to be opposites, right? So for minimum metallic, I want black. So I'm going to fill this uniformly with black. So we just come up here and do edit, fill with background color, foreground color, which in this case happens to be black. And then again, you don't see it here in the image because this is showing us, I don't know, I guess it's showing us the red channel. But you can see it here in the breakdown of the layers. Yeah, okay, it's showing us the layers. And so these are not blended. So it's saying this is the normal layer up here. This is not, it's not the red channel, it's just a layer. So it's showing us everything. Now I could just blend these together, but then it's not going to be right. It's not going to give me what I want. So now that I have them done this way as layers, and this is different from Photoshop, I have to now recombine these back into the channels. And the way to recombine them is the opposite of what I did to split them up. So you just go up to Colors, Components, and pick Compose. Not Recompose, but Compose. And Compose is going to put them back in. So we pick Compose, and then it's going to give us this pop-up that asks us, what do you want them to be? So make sure Color Model is set to RGB, and then this is going to be your red channel, your green channel, and your blue channel, and it's just telling you what's in there. And so I didn't need to adjust this. It's just I accept what's in there. So if you look, you really want to say it's telling us it's this image on the red channel, I guess that's what that's saying, or it's saying red over here, this red layer, and this is the green layer and the blue layer. And so this is my red, green, and blue, and that's how I want. I want my red channel to have the red layer, I want my green channel to have the green layer, and I want my blue channel to have the blue layer. So you just don't have to deal with that. You don't have to change it because that's the default that comes up. Just make sure it says RGB at the top and then hit OK. And there we go. It's now blended them together. And then if you go look at the channels, you'll see that they're different. So the channel has the AO in red, it has white in green, and has black in the blue channel. But as far as the image that comes out, it's this color. And that's what we want for maximum roughness uniformly and minimum metallic uniformly. Okay, so that's going to give us this image. And then all we have to do is go File, Export As, and we'll call that where's it putting it? It's putting it someplace weird. It's putting it in a different place than where I was just at. So I don't know where it's putting it. Anyway, so this is sticking it in my GIMP. I have to navigate around and find where I want to save it, but just do that, name it and save it and hit export, and then you can upload it into Second Life and use it. And watch my other videos to figure out how to do that. So I'm not going to do this part. You can figure out how to export yourself. You just give it a name and hit export, but put it in the folder that you want. All right, so that's if I wanted my roughness to be not reflective at all, and I want my metallic to be not metallic at all. But what if I'm doing a different kind of material and I want to have some reflectiveness or some metallic sheen to it? So I can go back over here, which this is actually really nice that GIMP does this, because every time you make a change, it creates a new image. I can just go back to this version of the image where I put the white and the green in, and it hasn't converted it back, and I can change them. So let's go to the green, and instead of filling this with white, I want to fill this with, I want this to be maximum reflectiveness. I want this to be, I'm going to make this be a metallic metallic surface, like it's a weird chair, but it's like very spacey science fiction chair. It's going to be covered with a gold material that is highly metallic and highly reflective. So for that, I want to do the opposite. So I'm going to take my green and I'm going to fill that with black. Black being no roughness, and since it's no roughness, that means it's maximum reflection. And then on the blue, I'm going to set that to maximum metallic, which is going to be white. So we're going to go edit and edit, fill with white. So there we have these values. And then I'm going to come back up to colors, components, and compose it and say, okay. And there we have a new one. Actually, I really like this feature up here. It makes it so much easier to make multiple generations or multiple versions of this quickly and easily, where in Photoshop, it's a little more difficult to do. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. All right, so there we have. So the yellow and green one is going to be matte. This one is going to be super shiny. And then if you want something in between, then what you need to do is change the colors in your background and foreground to be various shades of gray, and then you can apply them that way. Now, what if I do want to have parts of the image shiny and parts of the object shiny and parts of the object that are matte? Like say I put stripes on here and I want the background to be matte, but I want the stripes to be really shiny. Well, then what you would do is you would manipulate this image. You would go back to this image, and in here, instead of doing a uniform color where it's filled with a solid color, you would put stripes in of white and black, and you would orient them the way you want. So you could do that, or you could actually, going back to the original image, like this where it had the 3 channels, you could actually have the AO image in here and then go in here with a brush and paint on. In fact, I'm not going to show you how to do that, but you could actually go in here and paint on different colors where you want things to be shiny and where you want them to be matte. Again, using grayscale. So that's beyond the scope of this. It's more advanced, but it's something, if you know how to do it, you can do it. But that's how you would do it. Anyway, so that's the results. So you have this one is going to be for matte. This one is going to be for super shiny. And if I wanted something that was in between, I would make something with grays, different shades of gray, and these colors would be different in the resulting image. But that would produce the ORM that you then use in Second Life to create your PBR material. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope that made sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want me to do something else like this, let me know. I don't know GIMP well, so I'm not going to waste my time or your time trying to figure it out for doing a lot of this detailed stuff. I think if you know GIMP well, then you know what to do to make images. This is just how you make an ORM. Anyway, we're going to do another one in a minute. So I'm going to stop this one, and we'll talk to you guys again later.